anything without offending. So now my mouth is in the jailhouse with cases pending. First Amendment, you replaced it, rigged it, dumbed it down. It's not an option. Some of it I understand. Took power from me.
For everybody who's excited about this, that's awesome. I'm glad you're excited about it. I'm excited about it too. But there's something that they're not telling you that could be reducing speeds in your market. There's something really, really important. And I'm not even going to just... There's other things too. Like there's densification. You've got to be able to like upgrade more and more sites. They got to densify the network. That's important. Hey, Gene. Not only the densification process, but you have to kick up backhaul. Like they're going to have to pay for 10 gig backhaul. You can't put all this spectrum on a 1 gig channel, or a 1 gig circuit. So they're going to have to kick it up a notch. They're going to have to start paying for more high capacity fiber. So that adds to their OpEx, and they're going to have to do that too. But I want to share with you guys something that's really, really important that T-Mobile's not doing in my market that's hurting their potential capacity throughput. Now, the reason I'm showing this now, and the reason I want to show you guys this today, is I keep getting questions, and I keep getting replies and comments on videos about the network performance I see in my market. People are telling me, the T-Mobile performance where you're at isn't that great. Mine is so much better here. And they're talking about places like Houston, and they're talking about places like LA, and they're talking about places like Miami and Chicago. And it's true about those places. Those places have higher capacity backhaul on more sites. Those places have massive MIMO antennas and radios. Like, massive multi-input, multi-output radio gear. So this is something I want to speak to you guys about tonight to wrap up the show. This is a demonstration of why massive MIMO is really important and why T-Mobile doesn't really achieve and reach their full potential in my market. So here's what's happening. We just got this press release from T-Mobile, and they said that there's all this spectrum efficiency by going to a standalone 5G network. There is. In a standalone 5G network, you can use the full bandwidth within the channel for the use of creating your throughput. You get the full channel access. In 3G, it was very inefficient. In 4G, it was more efficient. In 5G, you're getting the full efficiency. So you're getting that additional 20% spectral efficiency. It's a win-win situation. Just by going from LTE to 5G, the full band access, no doubt, it's noticeable. It's a 20% improvement. This might be the most important thing that in and of itself makes the biggest difference for the user, which is you using your smartphones, and then also for people that are using home internet on T-Mobile, Verizon, whomever. It doesn't matter. You need massive MIMO. And in my market, they don't do massive MIMO. And there's some huge performance drop-offs because of it. So here's the difference between old legacy, old technology versus massive MIMO. Here is the traditional transmission, radio transmission, the RF configurations when you see figures for explaining connectivity. Do you guys see all these devices here on the left? This is a single beam, right? This is a single, I don't know what just these beam channels. Here with massive MIMO, you have individual beams going to each device. There is nothing more spectral efficient than this. This is what massive MIMO is really all about right here. This is why it's so good. This beam forming, right? It's improving the signal to your phone. The SINAR is going to be better. Your gain is going to be higher. Your beam is going to be more concentrated, so you're getting a cleaner signal. This is the move. massive MIMO is the move. I don't see massive MIMO in my market from one carrier, actually from two carriers. Neither Dish nor T-Mobile is using massive MIMO in my market, and it hurts capacity throughput potential. Let me give you guys another visual. This one is really good. All right, I'm going to pull me out of this for a second, okay? Here is an old legacy antenna on the left-hand side. You've got one single beam path, and it's spreading out like a sprinkler. This is a massive MIMO array. Do you guys see the number of antenna modules that are inside this antenna? You see this? Now I want you to look at the massive MIMO. There's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 8. Instead of 2x2, there's 8x8 antenna modules that are filled with a bunch of little antennas in them, beaming individualized signals to these devices. That is spectral efficiency, folks. Massive MIMO is the truth. Beamforming is the truth. Why in the world would a company be launching equipment in 2022 that is not massive MIMO? The signal quality by these legacy antennas is going to be okay. The signal quality, the capacity throughput on massive MIMO is going to be far superior. Quality of signal and range. Especially range. Like when we're talking about edge cell, like a lot of people are complaining, saying, you know, uplink sucks at 1 mile. Yeah, no kidding, because you're using legacy antenna technology. If it was on massive MIMO, you would still have usable uplink at 1 mile. Look, it's a simple concept. Here's another way to look at it. I'll leave you guys with this one. Here is a 4x4 MIMO, which is an improvement over the old 2x2 MIMO. This is better. You guys see the individual beams going to all these users? Yet and still, it's not good enough. We have technologies available today that allow this to be better using massive MIMO. Every single one of these users essentially has its own unique beam to the tower site in what's called adaptive cell arrangement. Massive MIMO is the truth. We should not be launching 4x4 MIMO in 2022. We should be launching 8x8. Massive multi-input massive MIMO. I mean, what I've been seeing, and Chaim just brought it up. My goodness, perfect timing, Chaim. I have the Pixel 6 Pro, I have the Pixel 7 Pro, and what they're doing with uplink is incredible. 50, 60 megabits per second uplink on edge cell. If the conditions are good, if it's a clean SINAR, you got line of sight, things like it, it's tremendous. Let me show you guys something. And this is what the last thing I'm going to leave you with. Here is a screenshot of a speed test that I did on my couch in my family room on the main floor of the SMT HQ. This speed test was taken from my Google Pixel 7 Pro. The tower site is 1 mile away. This is N77, 3.7 gigahertz. Verizon Wireless 5G UW. This is Samsung radio gear. 535 megabits per second downlink, 39 megabits per second uplink. 1 mile from the site, in my house, on my couch. 60 megahertz channel. What's going to happen to this when Verizon decides to go 140 megahertz here? The throughput's probably going to triple. We're going to be seeing 1.5 gigs on my couch, on midband. It's a very simple calculus, folks. Massive MIMO. You could talk about spectral efficiency all day, but if you are not putting up massive MIMO antennas and radio gear, you are wasting time. You are wasting time. You are wasting money. You are going to be going back up to that site soon to put up massive MIMO gear. AT&T is launching massive MIMO in the C-band 3.7 and in the DoD 3.45. Verizon is doing the same thing with the 3.7 gear for their C-band. Dish and T-Mobile are not. They are not putting up massive MIMO gear, and it's pissing me off because they can do so much more with their assets. It's just cheaper. They're just cutting costs. That's the bottom line, folks. When a carrier doesn't deploy massive MIMO, they are cutting costs. I don't blame the carriers. Like, I don't blame Dish. Dish is trying to build a 5G network with a shoestring budget, right? Dish is trying to do like 70% of the pops covered in like 3 years. And they didn't even have enough money to do it. They had to like put out a bunch of senior notes to try to generate a couple more billion. T-Mobile, on the other hand, is more capable. They have a larger, bigger capex. They're more capable of putting up massive MIMO gear. And I see them do it in some cities. The stuff that people send me is incredible. I like, literally right now, folks, I can go into my like mentions and my ats and stuff like that on Twitter, and people are tagging me in photos showing T-Mobile getting like 1.5 gigs per second on N41. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. They're just not doing it here. Big shout out to Gene. Thanks for the super chat, sir. They're not putting up the same gear here, and they're not kicking up the backhaul either. On N41, I'm getting 1 to 3 megabits per second uplink from a mile away. On N77, on AT&T, I'm getting like 8 megabits from that same distance. And then on Verizon, I'm getting this. You see it on the screen, 39 uplink. The proof is in front of you. If you don't put up massive MIMO gear, you are not getting the most out of your spectrum. You're wasting time. And that, folks, is why people say things like 5G sucks. People say 5G sucks when a carrier does not deploy massive MIMO. They don't know what massive MIMO is. The people that say 5G sucks don't understand what massive MIMO is, but they do understand that when it performs like LTE, it's not real 5G. That's the problem. All these tower sites need massive MIMO radio gear. Stop playing games with the low order MIMO. The 2x2 and the 4x4 is passé. Okay, fine. You had all that gear up years ago. You can't upgrade it for another couple years. Fine. But we should not be putting up low order MIMO on gear on cell towers today. It is November 15th, 2022. Enough. Only massive MIMO moving forward. That's it. It's aggravating to be on edge cell on a mid-band channel getting 1 megabit per second on uplink, and you can't hold a video call. You can't do a Zoom meeting. You can't do a FaceTime. Because you got 1 uplink. You know what I'm saying? 1 megabit uplink because you're on edge cell on a mid-band channel. Unacceptable. Ain't gonna be able to do it. I'm here. Saying, man. Look, I hope you guys learned something. It's why I wanted to show you guys these pictures, to show you the efficiency, the spectral efficiency that certain presidents of technology like to talk about. Spectral efficiency. It's in the MIMO. It's not just the channels being on 5G NR. It's in the MIMO technology. It's in the hardware. It's not just the software. It's in the hardware. You got to go stand alone. You got to do this. This is how you 5G network. This.